Hey guys, welcome back to the Piston Show. I'm Keshi Dillon, and today we are going to be talking about the new BMW iX2. It's in the Malaysian market for roughly about 297,000 ringgit, which in the grand scheme of Malaysian EVs, all of the electric cars that are available in Malaysia, 297,000 ringgit for a car of this size and this capability is undoubtedly expensive. There's no other angle to this that can make you sort of look at it and say, yes, it's worth that 297,000 ringgit. It's fun. There's no doubt that it's fun. It has dual electric motors. It gives you 308 horsepower, which is a lot and lets you do stuff like that. Oh my god. And 494 Newton meters on top. The WLTP range is somewhere about the 470 plus kilometers. WLTP. I picked up the car yesterday and it had full 100% charge to it, and even then I just saw a range of about 380 390 kilometers. Of course, this all depends on your style of driving and such, and if you're constantly accelerating, decelerating, and I gotta admit that I've been indulging in the 0 to 100 in 5.6 seconds. It's just amazing. Yesterday my wife was having ice cream in the car, and just before she put it in her mouth, I just floored it and she got ice cream all over her face. That's the type of stuff that you can do, type of pranks that you can play when you have this much power under your right foot. But again, 297,000 ringgit is a lot of money to pay to be playing pranks, no doubt about it. And let's just think about it for a second. Charging time, if you have access to a 130 kilowatt DC charger, it'll take you about half an hour to charge it. 11 kilowatt AC charger will take you about 6.5 hours to charge it. So I know what you're thinking, Keshi, WTF, man. There are a lot of other cars, especially those from China, particularly those from China, that have better value for money, can go further and such. Teslas, yes, I know what you're thinking. I know that it absolutely is difficult to justify that much money on a car when, especially in EV, when you know that there are other EVs out there that can do better, go further, have better features and such. Excuse me, morning flu. Anyway, it is that feature thing that I want to talk to you about, because as far as the specification list is concerned, the iX2 is quite impressive. The entertainment system, for example, consists of a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. Absolutely banging sound system, right? And if you followed my channel long enough, you would know that I'm a sucker for a good sound system, and I think more people should be too, because we spend so much time in our cars and listen to good music, and you should listen to Eminem's latest album in this car. It just sounds glorious. But besides that, you get two 10-point-something inch screens up front. Fantastic as well. Makes it seem very futuristic in here. And then you get this M Sport package. You get this really nice chunky steering wheel that sort of feels a little bit oversized. I got long fingers, so it feels just nice in my hands. But those of you that don't, this might feel a little bit too big. But I like big chunky steering wheels better than the small thin rimmed ones, and besides all of that, it's a good looking car. Okay, so this is basically almost identical to the top spec iX1 in terms of the powertrain and yada yada yada. And However, this is considered like the SAV version of, or coupe, sports coupe version of the iX1. The iX1 is obviously a, what do you call this? An SUV, right? It's a classic SUV in terms of sizing and, in terms of design. But it's also 7,000 ringgit cheaper than the iX2. So you buy the iX2 over the iX1 if you want something more funky, something nicer in terms of design, something that looks wow, okay? Because it does look wow. It's a really good looking car, guys, come on. And then you get a lot of M Sport things going on in here, like this sort of semi-sports bucket seats that just cusp you. And it feels really nice. It feels like a really nice place to be in. And it feels well engineered. That's something that you sort of have to give it to BMW and a lot of these heritage car makers, right? When I say heritage car makers, I'm talking about car companies that have been doing it since before some of us were even born. You know, yes, I'm sticking it to the Chinese car makers. I'm sticking it to the likes of Tesla. Tesla says that they're not even a car company, they're a tech company. Okay, so, I mean, would you buy a laptop from AirAsia? Right. Or would you buy a laptop from, let's say, I don't know, YTL? Or something of that sort? And, you know, when Honda introduced their private jet, I can't remember what it's called now. A lot of us thought, like, what is Honda doing building private jets? Then we're like, oh, okay, Honda is an engineering company, so they do all this. Or Yamaha, if you're a biker, then you go and see Yamaha jet skis and you're like, oh, okay, this sort of relates, you know, because they're an engineering company. But then you have Tesla shooting rockets up to the sky, onto the moon, into space and such. And then at the same time, they're building cars. And then at the same time, they are saying that, you know, they're a tech company. They're not so much of a car company. They have just mastered the art of production, hence why they can, you know, send over-the-air software updates and such. But then you get heritage car makers such as this, such as BMW over here, that do some amazing stuff. Because this iX2 is fantastic to drive. It's so accurate in its handling that it just feels like a proper BMW. Like, when you think about BMW, you think about cars that are really nice to drive. You think cars that are well put together. You think about cars that have proper quality. Excuse me, yeah? And you get that with the iX2. And I really, really like the fact that this has a proper gear shifter. I mean, if you're going to be talking about Tesla, for example, you have to swipe the screen up and down, or, you know, select the gears from somewhere up on the roof here. What? So I appreciate. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, yeah? Whatever floats your boat, man. But I appreciate proper gear levers, proper gear shifters. I can't even believe that I'm saying that. Where did we go wrong that we're even talking about proper gear shifting? Anyway, you get my drift. Inside here, you get buttons, knobs, you get all this stuff that feels really nice. It feels well put together. It feels like somebody actually sat down and put some thought into the interior of this BMW. And that I appreciate. On to Chinese car makers. I have a lot of respect for what they have achieved. I really have to give it to Chinese car makers. What they are doing now to the market is what the Koreans did to the market many years ago. And but there's one thing that I really wish more Chinese car makers did, and that is innovate. Yes, I know what you're thinking. There are a couple of companies that do innovation really well. I would give it to BYD, I would give it to GWM, I would give it to the likes of these guys that innovate and create their own batteries. They have absolutely shaken the global car market with their battery technologies and such. Brilliant. I got to give it to them. But then again, there's a lot of other car makers that don't do innovation all that well. In fact, what a lot of these Chinese car makers do is that they buy competitor cars. I've seen this myself, yeah. I visited a couple of Chinese car companies, factories in China, and I've seen it myself. That what they do is they buy competitor cars, they tear it apart, they reverse engineer it, and then they just sort of decide that, look, I want my car to have this, I want my car to have that. They sort of create like an a la carte menu of what they want in their car and just put it together, and sometimes they even plagiarize designs and then they just call it their own.
This video is brought to you by Berjaya Sompo Insurance. Get Sompo Motosafe by Berjaya Sompo. The less you drive, the less you pay. It's that simple. Choose from 3 different mileage plans with affordable premiums to fit your driving needs. Perfect for those who drive occasionally. Plus, enjoy extra perks like unlimited towing, 100% special perils, and all driver coverages. Ready to drive smart and save big? Switch to Sompo Motosafe today. Head over to Berjaya Sompo Insurance and start saving now. If you're thinking that you've seen the front of this car somewhere before, that's probably because it looks very much like the one on the iX1, which is not really surprising though, since this is supposedly the, as I was saying earlier in my in-car video, that the iX2 is basically the coupe version or coupe silhouette type version of the iX1. Of course, you can't really see it here because we are basking under the sun, but you get BMW's iconic grille, where at night you get the light strip just surrounding the front of the car. Of course, you don't get a grille in the traditional sense of the word because there's no engine to cool, but you can always just tell a BMW, especially the newer ones, at night because of the iconic grille. I really didn't like that when I first saw it in the i7. I was like, sort of looks like one that came off Peppa Pig, you know, but now it looks really good. But I like how the black and the red sort of complement each other. They look very sporty, and this is of course because of the M Sport package. It looks really nice, and there's a bunch of functional vents over here that make the car slipperier as it cuts through the air. But the big question is, do you get a frunk? Let's see. No, you don't. There's no forward trunk for you to keep smaller items and such, which is a bit of a pity, and that you have to give it to the Chinese and as well as Tesla, because they actually do packaging really well, and the front of the car is where you have an opportunity to put a forward trunk. Is it because it uses twin motors? I'm not quite sure. Possibly. But again, a forward trunk would have been nice. This though, in my opinion, is the BMW iX2's best view. I really like the entire silhouette, how the roof just drops down like this and such. I think this is the BMW iX2's finest design or finest section or side. I think it looks really good from the side over here. Anyway, this huge panel over here, the C column over here, just is, in my opinion, is just way too big, even though it's part of the overall design of the car. But it sort of hinders your view, especially when you're, coming out of a tight or blind intersection or something, and you want to kind of see whether there are cars coming up. So this sort of hinders your view a bit, but I know that it adds to the overall design character of the car. I love the 20-inch wheels. It looks brilliant, adds to the entire character of the car as well. And then You get these black panels all around, especially at the back over here, the blacked out side mirrors. This is part of the BMW's M Sport package for the iX2. The door handles sit flush with the door as well, and this lowers the coefficient of drag for the iX2, and apparently this leads to the iX2 being slipperier as it cuts through the air as compared to the likes of the iX1, hence why the iX2 has slightly better range than the iX1. Overall, as I was saying, this, in my opinion, makes the car really stand out. This is probably the best view of the iX2. The back of the car, well, I like it. It's neither spectacular, but neither is it ugly. It's just one of those designs that simple, straight to the point. There's no odd shaped or anything funny looking of that sort. Of course, because it's an EV, you don't get any exhaust. You do get these diffuser wannabes. But I really like how BMW has painted the lower part of this, made it gloss black, and sort of match the color between black and red really well. I think for one, Peugeot can learn a little bit from BMW about painting the back bumper. Recently we reviewed the 408, brilliant car, but I just can't stand the fact that the bottom part of the bumper was not painted. It's just, again, I described it as somebody forgetting to do their job. This though looks really good. The design, well, really good. This spoiler is part of the M Sport package. The rear view camera is mounted at the top here. The curious thing about this is that it tends to get dirty. You know, it's been raining and such, hence why it looks like that. But there's a cleaning nozzle over here that sprays soap onto it, so that's how they keep it clean. And then I guess BMW has been learning something from Volkswagen. Check this out. This is how you open the powered tailgate. Decent sized boot is something very easy to live with, but you do not get any spare tire or tire repair kit or something of that sort. I don't see any, but anyway. But which means that that's something that you will need to look into by yourself. Let's go jump inside. Loyalty programs are great, but don't you just hate it when you lose the card or you forget to bring it and then you end up losing out on all those points? Well, BH Petrol has an ingenious solution to it. Rather than coming up with a card, they have launched the BH Petrol e-card application, and it's available in both Android as well as for iPhones. What this does is you basically pour as you normally would, pick up the receipt and simply scan it. You get 1 point for every liter that you spend. And it has a lot of exciting products that you can actually trade your points in for. Right now, with BH Petrol's e-card loyalty program, I don't have to worry about losing my card or even losing out on my loyalty points, making BH Petrol's e-card loyalty program the right choice. The interior is undoubtedly a really nice place to be in. You get BMW's live cockpit system, which gives you this massive screen over here, something over 20 inches, and it's just brilliant. I think one of the good things about all BMWs is that the software is always really easy to interact with. Anyway, you get Vaganza interior synthetic leather. This is not pure leather, it's synthetic leather. But if you buy the iX2, you either get a choice of pure Vaganza synthetic leather, or you can mix it up with Alcantara. I don't see any Alcantara leather in here, so I'm guessing this is just pure Vaganza synthetic leather. Other than that, you get this hexagonal aluminium trimming over here. Looks really good. This dark aluminium trim and the way that they have sort of finished it means that it does not reflect under the sun, which sometimes tends to blind you. Now, when I first got into this car, I noticed that it just has one air conditioning blower over here, I was thinking that maybe, I'm going to end up arguing with my wife about who gets the air conditioning blower. And then I noticed that it has its two air conditioning blowers over here.
which just means that it's just incredibly easy to live with, and either your passenger is going to get really cold or they're going to really appreciate that. Now, the other thing that I really appreciate about the interior is the fact that the front seats gets its own ISOFIX mount. Now, this makes it easy to live with seat boosters or something like that, with not toddlers, but sort of, you know, any child above the age of 5 or 6, which still need child seat boosters and such. So it just makes it easier to have your child in the front seat rather than them throwing a tantrum at the back. Now, besides that, you also get a wireless charge pad over here. Now, I like the positioning of this charge pad since it's nearly vertical, and that allows you to just sort of store your phone like that. Now, there's none of that, you know, putting it down and letting it slide around and such. And it also has this sort of phone holder, so it's not going to slide around when you decide to have some fun with the car. Of course, cup holders, you get this twin-layered storage space over here where I've kept my cables, my sunglasses, and you get more storage over here. This is good. I think in the sense that the iX2 is a car that it's easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. It's just the right size, but the interior too, it's very practical, it feels very well built. And besides that, there's just not a lot that may come loose over time. So if you're thinking about buying an EV for the long term, the iX2 seems like a good proposition. Now let's just go check out the back seats before we sum this up. So the iX2 has obviously grown in size, but then again, for somebody about my height, 5'11", I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time at the back over here. I wouldn't want to go on long road trips. Just around town is fine. It's just decently comfortable. You get 2 Type-C USB ports and air conditioning coolers, air conditioning vents. And besides that, it's just not a very big place to be. So if you have a big family, meaning big in size, this may not be very practical. But if you have a younger family and you're looking for a day-to-day runabout, then yes. But you also get ISOFIX mounts over here, and what I really like about this ISOFIX mounts is these flaps. See, this may not seem like a big deal, especially if you don't have kids, you may not understand. But when you have flaps like this, it just means that the flaps won't go missing. If I'm not mistaken, it is Mercedes-Benz, it is some other car makers whose flaps are detachable, which means that you might lose them. And that's no good to lose your ISOFIX caps. That just bothers my OCD. So I like having flaps such as this. And besides that though, nice place to be. Quality seems good. Not a lot of space, as I mentioned earlier. You do get cup holders. And not much else to say about the back. So should you spend 297,000 ringgit on a BMW iX2? I feel that the iX1, the top spec iX1, is good enough already, and there's no arguing against saving money because you can save roughly about 7,000 ringgit. But then again, the iX2 is all about style. You can't really put a price on style. As a car, the iX2 is really nice to drive. There's no doubt about it. It looks really good. The interior feels good. It feels well built. And you have everything that you want, that you need on a day-to-day basis, including almost all of the advanced driver aid systems that, I don't really talk about a lot, but it works in the background to keep you and the occupants safe. So in that sense, I think the iX2 checks all the boxes. The biggest problem with the iX2 is that the competition offers almost everything that the iX2 has, except for perhaps 50% or about that region of the price of the iX2. So the likes of the BYD Auto 3, the Tesla Model 3, the likes Smart #1, #3. #3 is of course slightly bigger as well. But then again, this badge, that is what the iX2 is all about. It's a BMW. And BMWs can help single men get married. It can help
a lot of people find the true purpose in life as well. BMWs are stuff that you dream about. I do not know anybody that sort of dreams about owning a BYD. So besides that, the iX2 is all about the brand, all about the badge, all about what BMW has to offer. That means a car that is really nice to drive, really nice to go about on a day-to-day basis. I've been driving this in and around KL, from Cyberjaya back to here, back home, around town to One Utama, and I'm still left with slightly above 70%. I suspect that I can return this car without even having to charge it. So that's the beauty of the iX2 as well, even though the range may not be as much as some of its competitors, but it's good enough on a day-to-day basis. So if you're looking for an EV to go about your day-to-day business around town, maybe you're doing about 100 kilometers per day, less than that, and you're looking something that just makes people go, wow, nice car, then yes, the iX2 or perhaps even the iX1 is definitely worth a look, in my books at least. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm Kashi Dylan, and as usual, do consider subscribing.